Tonight on Joy News Prime, Parliament's Joint Sanitation Committee describes sanitation situation as a national security and threat and calls on government to, as a matter of urgency, find a lasting solution.
There's no way this country will develop better if we don't have a healthy environment. We the people need to be healthy. Our environment needs to be clean. We have to have a clean atmosphere in order to enhance productivity.
Joy News is learning the acting IGP may be retained as a substantive as his name is submitted to the Council of State for consideration. The Ghana Police Service, meanwhile, says it is not against the establishment of an independent body to probe police misconduct. This comes on the back of the interdiction of 2 officers found in a viral video assaulting the suspect. In business,
London Stock Exchange to invest expertise and capital in Ghana's stock market as the LSE partners the local bourse to revamp it and develop the general economy.
I'm Israel and Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomlemle here in Accra with digital address GA09925339. Stay tuned in. The Joint Sanitation Committee of Parliament has described the sanitation situation in the country as a national security threat and called on government to, as a matter of urgency, find a lasting solution. This comes on the back of the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, which has over the past 5 weeks, together with Accra Metropolitan Assembly, exposed, among others, the filthy conditions under which some food vendors operate in Accra. Some churches have also proved that cleanliness is not always next to godliness. We're listening to the members of the Joint Parliamentary Committee shortly, but first a recap of what happened on Wednesday on the Joy Clean Ghana campaign.
First stop, the pepper mill. When we entered, cockroach-infested mill with wires hanging loosely got the inspector disturbed.
Can you see cockroaches all over? So you blend this thing with cockroaches all over. So if we're going to put off this place, put it off in use. Yeah, that is what we're going to do. Because no, that's it. Today we are going for all of you because if you don't meet the standards that you are supposed to operate here, we will not allow you to operate.
So if you want to grind, pepper, you add this pepper and grind.
Everybody in this world, everywhere.
Everywhere they use
it. I just want to understand how. So what pepper?
How safe is it? How safe? Who has authorized this thing as a safe product for you to mix it to produce?
Oh, we are selling in the market.
Mostly market women add it to pepper and tomatoes. Sometimes we see them milled fresh tomatoes and they are selling. And the color is so red. This is what mostly they add to it. And even the pepper.
We moved from pepper to the corn mill, only to find the corn mixed with lime.
They've added these things into the corn to also grind. I don't know why it's been added. What is the purpose of adding this into the corn?
The scent comes to the inside. That's why we use this one so that the corn will never be sent.
So when you add this into the corn, it doesn't smell like it.
It doesn't smell.
If don't do this, it smells bad, right?
Yeah.
But since you said if the corn is spoiled, that is why you add this.
If the corn is dirty.
It's dirty.
Yeah.
So this will clean the dirt.
The fufu pounding mill was the next point. The operator's health card had expired and the fufu was also left uncovered. The room was also covered in dust and cobwebs. What the team didn't know, however, was these mills had channeled their liquid waste to this drain. The drain has become a cocktail of feces, pepper, fufu in a floating pot of plastics.
The Joint Sanitation Committee, consisting of the local government and rural development, water resources, works and housing and environment, science, technology and innovation committees, is asking government to set aside 5% of the oil fund money to tackle sanitation. Ranking member of the local government committee, Neelante van der Poel, said failure to adhere to the call might spell doom for the country. He was speaking to journalists after touring major landfill sites in the country.
All these funds that hitherto were going to other programs should specifically be put together to finance waste management. If I were to be in government, that would be my suggestion. That all these monies that were going somewhere else, from now, should be put together, including the 5% oil revenue that will come now, just for waste management. Because there's no way this country will develop better if we don't have a healthy environment. We the people need to be healthy. Our environment needs to be clean. We have to have a clean atmosphere in order to enhance productivity. So that, I believe, will solve the problem. Because if you ask that this thing is put on government budget, look, we know budgets are always done. Appropriations, we pass appropriations, but the releases don't come. I've been a minister before, I know. The releases don't come. But if we have a statutory fund that is taking care of it, then we are sure. And then the people themselves, the investors, will also know that, oh, at least we have a much more reliable source of funding for this. So they can even use the projected, funding to even go to banks and take a loan to invest. But when they are not too sure about where the next payment is going to come from, it becomes difficult for it. It inhibits their ability to be able to negotiate properly with investors and banks to invest in this business.
Local Government Committee Suleiman Adamu Sanid also insisted all landfill sites must be decommissioned and turned into recycling plants if the country is to win the war against filth.
We believe we need to introduce technology. We need to invest more into it. Technology, yes. Now, it is very clear that the only way out is to have a compost plant, like Zoom Lion has done already with Aricop in Accra here, where they have an integrated compost recycling plant where nothing goes to waste. Waste is actually being treated as a resource. And if you add value to it, you end up with a product that can actually go back and feed into industry, feed into the building environment, and then we'll make something out of it. So we think that, yes, we can make something out of waste. So it will not just end as a waste, but it's a waste that can be turned into an input for business, and we can use it for something useful. When we visited Aricop, it was very clear that we get fertilizer out of it, we get metals out of it where it can be used. The steel manufacturing companies can use it. Plastic is also gotten out of it, and then it can be used for recycling.
Ranking member of the Works and Housing Committee, Emmanuel Kwesi Bejra, called for depoliticization of the sanitation menace.
Its related sanitation has no political effect or political colors. And therefore, if there was an arrangement that a group of people or businessmen from Ghana should, in the loop, decide that we should manage the waste, convert it into a usable material, and that was done, arrangement has been done with the previous government. We are appealing to the media to take this as a matter of urgency, to talk to all of us, including political leaders and Ghanaians, to know that waste has no waste management has no political coloration, has no political colors at all. If the previous administration has signed some memorandum of understanding that businessmen, private Ghanaians, indigenous Ghanaians should go ahead and start converting waste into a productive venture, converting waste into, or recycling waste, and some people have taken the lead by procuring equipment. I don't see why government or any successive government should not sign that agreement to allow it to happen. And therefore, I'm appealing to my colleagues, all of us here. You've noticed that we are all from different parties, both NPP and this, and we are all advocating that we should allow the process to go on.
You're watching Joy News Prime, and Joy News is learning that the acting IGP James Opombuenu may just be affirmed as a substantive Inspector General of Police. And Raymond Akwa has joined me in the studio to tell us a bit more about that. So, Raymond, thank you very much. So we're learning that his name, the reason why we believe or we're getting indications that he may just be affirmed is because his name has been submitted to the Council of State.
Yes, by the President, which is what is constitutionally mandated to do. And the Council of State would actually review and approve and also make suggestions if they want him change or something of that close to the. But what they mostly will do is some form of background work to be virtually like another layer of reviewing the kind of decision that the President will make, then go back. It will go back to the President, he would announce it, and actually to be made official to the public out there. We understand that tomorrow, members of the Council of State have been asked to come for a meeting tomorrow, and the decision, the review would happen on that particular day tomorrow. So after the decision, after the review, they would finally tell us what their decision is. They will convey their advice to the President directly. They'll not tell the public what their decision is. So the President will tell the Republic what the man is being maintained in office as substantive, because we know he's been made to act since David Asante Appiah left office. And if you do recall the analysis by the security, yes, he said that he is the senior most, that's without doubt. But he did not have enough, practical experience on the ground. And that is what we understand. One other person that might be coming in as Deputy IGP in this case will be Christian Teteyoonu. He will be filling the gap of the operational requirement that his main boss may be lacking in this particular case. And along the announcement of the IGP, maybe the announcement of this particular gentleman, Christian Teteyoonu, who Adams Bonner tipped to be, according to servicemen, the person who is most qualified to be the IGP.
But the other issue that comes up in all of this has to do with how long he has to serve before he retires.
That's interesting. Now, in a couple of days from now, he was born in 1958. It means he will turn 61 in a couple of days from now. That is what is ringing the bell about whether or not he will stay in office for a longer period. So assuming he's confirmed in the course of this week, when next week also he actually turns 61, all that we do is an extension. Yeah. As has happened in times past with other people. So this perhaps might be the prime time to go through this process so that he can be given the extension to stay in office as is required by law and as has happened with other IGPs in times past. That is what that's how they intend managing that particular space when it comes to whether or not he can be in office for a very long time, or he would have to. Of course, if he has a couple of days left in the service in its entirety, it will be difficult for you to keep him there until you do the extension. So all of this process is supposed to confirm him, then extend his tenure.
All right, thank you very much, Raymond Akwa. And so the information we have is that the acting IGP, James Obumbonu, may just be affirmed, but this is subject to the review by the Council of State. And so we will get that information immediately. We have confirmation. We will be sharing that with you. But moving on, or staying with the Ghana Police Service, it says it is not against the establishment of an independent body to probe police personnel who misconduct themselves in the line of duty. On Tuesday, the Inspector General of Police, James Obumbonu, interdicted 2 police officers captured in the viral video flogging a suspect at the Railways Police Station Akofo-Iddo in the Eastern Region. Here's the Director of Communications of the Ghana Police Service, ACP David Eklu, who believes setting up an independent body will be a major step in restoring the image of the service. He spoke with Kwesi Parker-Wilson on the sidelines of a 2-week training program for senior officers on how to communicate with the community as part of his transformation agenda.
Normally, it takes 21 days for a trial to conclude at the officer level. Then this report is submitted to the police headquarters, where there are 5 police commissioners who constitute the Central Disciplinary Board, who will review the recommendations from the officer. There are even other areas where lawyers can come in. There are certain steps that we need to take to make sure that whenever an officer is punished, he's punished based on established procedures. So we don't rush into condemning our officers. They also have rights. Last year, we published offenses against officers for 2017. We are now compiling the ones for 2018. There are others that you don't need to go public. There are others that are done departmentally. But for some of the cases that have come to the public domain, of course, it is our responsibility to let the public know how we go about it, how the case ended, in order to establish that accountability. But we have to do it after the due process has been exhausted.
But your criticism that even the whole process, the whole mechanism, is a cover-up of your own individuals, and that they want an external, independent body to investigate the misconduct of the Ghana Police
I don't
Service.
think that we have any objection to that.
Fortunately, so you agree to it?
Yes. Fortunately,
there needs to be an external body too.
Fortunately, the Commission for Human Rights, the CHRR, Commonwealth Human Rights Institute, has come up with a proposal. They had a meeting with the Inspector General of Police this week, and we have stated that we don't have an objection to it. But the question is, how are we going to establish it? Who is going to play the leading role? How are we going to ensure that there is transparency even in that process, so that the rights of police officers can also be guaranteed when we have an independent public complaints commission? I think that it will strengthen the accountability that we are all urging for. So we don't have any objection to it.
Police in the Kumasi suburb of Diaso have until the end of this month to renew their tenancy agreement or be evicted from the building which houses its personnel. It turns out rent on the facility has not been paid for a while because the officers say they do not have money to pay. Mahmoud Mohamed Rudin was in the town and sent in this report.
This is the current district police command offices and the old structures. The command was compelled to rent this building 2 years ago, but there was no office space to accommodate personnel. District Commander DSP Ose Eduajiman and his men had to find a way out.
We do apologize for the poor quality of the audio on this story. Moving on, the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council has announced an absolute rejection of any plans to incorporate comprehensive sexuality education in Ghana's school curriculum. Addressing a news conference here in Accra, President of the Council, Reverend Professor Paul Frimpong-Manso, stated they are building a strong alliance to kick against the CSE, which he described as monstrous, demonic, and a comprehensive satanic education. Maxwell Agbagba has more.
For weeks, the issue of comprehensive sexuality education dominated headlines and conversation on both mainstream and social media. Many opponents of the topic say it will expose children to practices that are alien to the Ghanaian culture. At a press conference Thursday, President of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council stated the non-negotiable position of the Council on this controversial subject of comprehensive sexuality education.
Saying there should be total withdrawal, annihilation, destruction, expunge of that idea. It should be out of the vocabulary of Ghana education system. We do not want it. But going forward, we are saying that never again. So what has already secretly been crept into our books, the paper you are reading, page 11, the primary 1 to 6 there, the statement is there. So we can't question it. Parliament, it was put on Parliament. Mr. Speaker, so Mr. Speaker had it. Yeah. It was debated and discussed, and the thing was passed.
President of the GPCC, amongst other things, want Parliament to start processes to review parts of the 2019 budget. He says committed resources to fund CSE.
Parliament, as a representative of the people, as a matter of urgency, should commence the relevant parliamentary process to review the aspects of the 2019 budget statement that committed state resources to funding this controversial CSE by ensuring that it is withdrawn and that no funds are expected on this policy.
Reverend Professor Paul Frimpong Manso also wants churches to be given full control of the religious upbringing of students in all mission schools.
May I make the proposal that if government will not give us the school, then there should be partnership. They take the hardware and we take the software. They can build for us, they can pay the salaries, they can do the infrastructure, of course we will help. But the moral training and the upbringing of the children should be given to the churches to control and have authority, so that we will bring out good, matured people in society.
He's urging members of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council to go and celebrate in church come Sunday for what he says is the suspension of comprehensive sexuality education from the school curriculum.
In the book of Esther, Haman brought a plot to destroy the Jews. Esther intervened and the king averted it. The Jews celebrated a feast to thank God. So as we prepare for our anniversary this Sunday, I am personally encouraging all GPCC local churches across the country to celebrate and thank God for the withdrawal and the suspension.
The Western region has a population of about 20,000 female sex workers, the largest in Ghana, according to research by the United States Embassy in Ghana. Speaking at the launch of an HIV and AIDS epidemic control initiative, U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Stephanie Sullivan, explained that the increase in female sex workers over the decade in the region is because of the rapid growth of natural resource extraction industries. The figures, she says, have become worrying to both the U.S. and Ghana governments, as statistics show that HIV prevalence among female sex workers is 7% compared to 1.7% population of general sex workers in the region.
The expansion of such industries, including mining, often brings increased sex work and risky behaviors. In fact, the Western region now has the largest population of female sex workers, estimated at 20,000. The United States supports the government of Ghana to address the HIV epidemic among both the general population and key populations such as female sex workers, since we know that the HIV prevalence among groups of people in the key populations is much higher than among the general population. Indeed, HIV prevalence is 7% among female sex workers compared to 1.7% in the general population.
Ambassador Stephanie Sullivan explained that region has a lot of difficulty in identifying people living with HIV and linking them to treatment centers, hence the launch of the new Western Region Joint Strategy for Achieving HIV and AIDS Epidemic Control. The launch is part of the Embassy's strategy for creating awareness on the existence of HIV and the 90-90-90 goals set by the UNAIDS. The goal aims to ensure that by 2020, 90% of people living with HIV know their status, 90% of people who know their positive status will receive sustained antiretroviral therapy, and 90% of all people receiving antiretroviral therapy will have viral suppression for them to live healthy. On his part, the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Bedu Sarkodie, said the selection of Western Region is appropriate given the fact that HIV prevalence in the region has been rising over the past decade. He said currently the Western Region is the highest, with a prevalence of 3.1% compared with the national prevalence of 2.4%.
The choice of Western Region is appropriate and purposive, given the fact that HIV prevalence in this region has been rising in its strength for the past decade, and currently Western Region is the highest with a prevalence of 3.1% compared with the national prevalence of 2.4%. We need to do everything possible to turn this tide. We look forward to mirroring the efforts in this region through this program to ensure that the good observations will be sent to other regions without leaving any region behind.
Ghana's Deputy Education Minister Dr. Yao Educhum is admired by many for his appreciation of the issues plaguing the sector and how they could be tackled. Though his background as an educationist is not a secret, very little is known about the school where he garnered the over 2 decades of experience. He started as an ordinary teacher and rose to own an award-winning charter school in Los Angeles, America's second largest city. My colleague Justice Bedu visited the school in downtown LA, and here's his report.
Okay, let's go. Bye. Have a good weekend.
Dr. William Okainte is the principal for the new design school.
See you on Tuesday.
Part of his work every day is to welcome pupils into and out of school.
This school was set up to prepare kids for college and also for careers. And so,
have a good weekend. See you on Tuesday.
This is way different from what head teachers like him are used to doing in Ghana, from where he came to form this school together with Dr. Yao Educhum, who now has gone back to Ghana to take up a job as Deputy Education Minister.
Dr. Educhum, his vision was to look for the best and the brightest from Ghanaians, Africans. This is our 16th year running these schools. We have grown from 100 students to 1,400 students and going to 1,500. From a few employees to right now we have almost 200 employees.
This is the third campus that owners of the new design school have opened up here in Los Angeles, taking now up to 1,300 pupils. They want to push it to 2,000 with the fourth campus in sight. The success story of this school goes to show that the American dream, equal opportunities for all to reach their fullest potential, irrespective of wherever they have come from, is very much within reach.
Do what I tell you to do before I give you work to do.
Middle-aged David Menu came to the U.S. as a trained teacher in 2010. He is just one of several Ghanaians working here.
It makes us feel proud, and you feel at home. At least you know that you have somebody behind you. For example, no matter the level of your education in Ghana, when you come here and you go into the classroom, you are going to have some challenges. And with all those challenges, you know you are working for a Ghanaian, somebody that you know. So at least you have some sound mind.
In a society where racial segregation continues to underpin educational attainment and class, the teaching and learning model of this school is giving children mainly from migrant communities and other minority groups in the United States a good shot at life. All of it driven by Ghanaian ingenuity and enterprise. Justice Bedu, Joy News, Los Angeles, California.
Teacher unions across the country have begun a campaign against what they say is government's plan to introduce public-private partnership into the education sector. The unions, headed by the National Association of Graduate Teachers, are accusing government of subtly introducing the model under the guise of the Ghana Partnerships Schools GPS initiative. The project, which is set to commence later this year, will be piloted in the Ashanti, Northern, Central and Greater Accra regions with the aim of bringing over 100 public basic schools under private management. But speaking with Joy News, Vice President of NAGRA, Jacob Anaba, said the unions will fight the project, claiming its disadvantages are far-fetched.
We have learned from other countries that the PPP that government thought was coming to help them solve a problem has rather exacerbated the problems that they had. For example, the PPP is supposed to help the poor and the needy. That is the private coming to partner the public, for that matter, government. But we realize that instead, the private man is making profit, huge profits from the poor. And the curriculum that they are using is not the one that government has given to the people. And therefore, we realize that if you don't say it now, what is happening to other countries will happen in this country. And that is why we are raising our voice.
The government says it's a pilot, so at the end of the day, whether it's positive or negative, we'll get to what is the way forward.
That is always what they say. Before you say Jack, then it becomes a different story. We will not wait, because we have seen other people, beard being bent by allowing the fire near them. We will not wait, because what is happening in Kenya, what is happening in Liberia, is not going to be different from what will happen in Ghana if we allow it. The pilot, where you are going to make profit, where the rural child who needs the education, you will not go there. You come to the urban area where you know you can get money. That is where we have a challenge. So we will not wait for them to pilot it at all.
How far are you willing to challenge government on this?
We'll go the full length. So far as the Constitution is our back, is the one we are standing on, because Article 25 states that government is supposed to give education free to its people. And 38 also re-emphasizes the point that government is supposed to build schools and ensure the schools are running. So with our Constitution still in place, we'll ensure that we'll fight to the end.
Persistent accidents and attendant casualties at Nantezongo in the Kintampo South District of Borno East region has left residents in perpetual fear. School children especially have fallen victim to the recklessness of speeding drivers on the smooth road running through the town. Joy News' Mahmoud Muhammad visited the community to interact with residents and filed this report.
It is smooth and level. Deadly to residents, mostly school children, for many years. Arguably, this is one of the best motorable roads in the country. It is a busy stretch that connects southern and northern Ghana with high volume of traffic, but it's become a major concern for the people in this area.
The story of road accidents can be told by eyewitness. It can also be told by the survivors of such accidents. But it would have been interesting to hear from the dead ones too. Unfortunately, that cannot be possible.
Many school children have been knocked down and killed by vehicles. 3 deceased victims are identified as Aishatu Osman, Muhibatu Shaibu, and Ubaidatu Suleiman. The children, whose ages ranges between 5 and 8 years, attended the local Islamic school. Most of the victims die instantly due to the overspeeding.
It's very alarming.
Bilal Salia has lost his knees in one such tragedy.
From the 80s, several lives. I can't count them, but what I have seen in the 80s, the 90s, and it's still happening in recent time. So something drastic needs to be taken, even though we are being vigilant. My sister's daughter and another child were killed on their way to school. Even they were not crossing the road, they were walking on the pavement.
I've witnessed so many of them. Yes, I think one happened recently when a car knocked 2 children.
Bilal is not alone.
2 children. When they
Munyo
were
Danladi has lost relatives under similar circumstances.
Everybody's complaining about this accident on this road. If we could even go to town and then ask, you will see more than 90% of natives complaining about this road being a death trap. And the way the car speed here is very bad.
Razak Mohammed recounts how 3 of his sisters were knocked down by speeding vehicles.
One of them was called Anas. He was a footballer. The other one was called Bushra. And then Huzaifa. They were very talented children. Bushra and Huzaifa were in primary and they were also athletes. We knew that if Anas had grown up, he would have become a very talented footballer. Unfortunately, he was killed by a speeding vehicle.
In September 2019, an officer of the Police Motor Transport and Traffic Department died on this same stretch. Inspector Foster Ampoma was run over by a DAF truck with registration number GE 7562-14 after the driver ignored a signal by the police officer to stop. Residents have raised concerns to the Kintampo District Assembly, but nothing has been done about it.
Numerous. We have raised this thing so many times. We have raised this thing, not even me alone, even the chiefs and even opinion leaders.
Some residents say rumble strips could do the trick.
Please come to our aid and construct rumble strips for us.
All efforts to speak to the assembly proved futile.
Over 320 people died from road crashes in Accra between 2016 and 2018, while over 1,400 sustained serious injuries. These figures were contained in the 2019 Road Safety Report by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Launching the second AMA Road Safety Report Thursday, consultant Dr. Raphael Bafuya stressed the need for strong efforts to improve road safety in Accra. Henry Kwesi Pedu's report read to you.
The Greater Accra region, according to the Motor Traffic and Transport Department reports, have over the years topped the chart in road accidents across the country. As part of activities to change this tag, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly last year launched the Road Safety Report as part of surveillance and action plans to fight avoidable deaths. This year's findings show the crashes in Accra alone increased from 1,248 in 2017 to 1,812 in 2018, resulting in 327 deaths. Raphael Bafuya is the AMA Road Safety Report consultant.
The findings actually show that in the Accra metropolitan area, there were 130 deaths. Right, there are 130 people who died as a result of a road traffic crash. And the point is that a lot of these deaths, or almost all of these deaths, are preventable. So to lose 130 people because of, a road traffic crash is something we all have to be concerned about. But particularly also, the reports found that there were more males who died than females. So about 4 out of 5 deaths were among males relative to females. Also, when it comes to road user type, when we say road user type, the different types of people who are using the road, it showed that pedestrians were more affected by road traffic crashes.
The report further stated that motorcycle accidents contributed 22% of total accidents in 2018 alone. Speaking at the launch, the Chief Executive Officer of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Mohammed Ejay Sowan, said the economic consequence of road deaths and cost of treatment for several casualties is a concern for city administrators, hence the need for collaborative efforts to clamp down on road traffic offenders.
One of the key contributing factors to the recklessness leading to injuries and fatalities on our road is as a result of overspeeding. So in the next couple of weeks, we are waging a war on overspeeding. We are launching an active campaign to address those issues. And whilst we mount an education, the police MTTD department collaborating with us will also be doing enforcement alongside.
The 2019 AMA Road Safety Report advised pedestrians and cyclists to be extra cautious as 84% of deaths were road users. Henry Kwesi report for Joy News.
We'll bring you some more business news next. That's it for the bulletin. I'm Israel Lai. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.